My wife said after 10 years of marriage, I'm going back to my ex and I'm taking half of everything. I smiled. The next day, her sister called me screaming, "You can't do this to her. We'll sue you." Sup, Reddit. My wife dumped me for her ex at our anniversary dinner and announced she's getting half of everything. She should have asked what those 40 pages were before signing them back in 2018. Grab your popcorn and enjoy the show. Name's Marcus, 43, male. The whole thing started 17 years ago in a cubicle I hated. Funny how the worst office job of your life can end up saving you a couple $100,000 and your entire financial future. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Back in 2008, I was a fresh industrial equipment appraiser working in a cramped Chicago office downtown. 23rd floor, windows that didn't open, fluorescent lights buzzing nonstop. My cubicle neighbor was Daniel, mid-30s, divorced twice, now a forensic accountant who specialized in high-net-worth divorces. Daniel handled cases where someone would build a 7-figure business from nothing, then lose half because they kept everything in joint accounts. Every case followed the same pattern. Successful guy, trusting guy thinks separating assets feels unromantic. Then the marriage ends and romance doesn't matter. Only legal structure does. Most of them think being a good husband means trusting completely. Daniel told me once. They don't realize there's a difference between trust and preparation until it's too late. By then, they're signing away businesses they built with their own hands. I listened, took notes. I was 26 and single. Marriage seemed like something other people did. Then my brother Ethan got destroyed. Ethan was 12 years older, had his life together way before I did. Built a contracting business from one truck into a 15-person operation. Bought 3 rental properties over 10 years. Was renovating a beautiful craftsman house for him and his wife Laura. Laura was a middle school teacher. 15 years of marriage, 2 kids in college. Everything seemed solid until it wasn't. She left him for her Pilates instructor. The gut punch came when Ethan found out she'd been bringing the guy to the house he was renovating as an anniversary surprise. His security cameras caught everything. He took the footage to his lawyer thinking it would matter. It didn't. Illinois is no fault. The judge split everything 50-50ths. Half the business, half the rentals, half the retirement accounts. The unfinished house had to be sold. Proceeds split. Ethan called me the day the settlement finalized. His voice sounded dead. Don't ever assume fairness, Marcus. The system rewards documentation. Preparation. I trusted completely. Documented nothing. And I paid for it with half my life's work. I drove to his place that night. He was in a rental apartment now, sitting at a card table. Laura had taken most of the furniture. She's already moved the guy into our old house. The kids haven't spoken to her, but legally there's nothing anyone can do. I'm the idiot who didn't protect myself. That image stuck with me. That night, Daniel and I made a pact over terrible Chinese food. Called it the Never Again Protocol. If either of us got married, we'd help the other build real financial protection, not prenups that judges throw out. Real protection, layered, documented, everything structured like a corporate merger. 5 years later, I met Sophia at a friend's barbecue in Wicker Park. Gorgeous brunette with green eyes and this laugh that made everyone turn around. We talked for 4 hours straight. She was a graphic designer, funny and creative and exactly my type. 6 months later, we were living together. A year after that, I proposed. I fell for her, the kind where you picture a whole life together. But every time I thought about the wedding, I'd remember Ethan at that card table. So while I was falling in love, I was also building protection. Daniel helped me design it like corporate tax strategy, limited liability entities, clear documentation, bank accounts structured to show access versus ownership. The wedding was beautiful. Sophia's parents flew in from Minnesota. My parents cried. And in the back of my mind, I thought about that fireproof safe where all the protection documents sat. Those documents were just paperwork, like smoke detectors. You hope you never need them. Then some red flags started showing about 2 years into our marriage. Nothing major at first, just small things. Phone always face down on the table. New passwords I didn't know. Late work meetings that never seemed to involve actual work. When I asked about them, I noticed, didn't say anything, just watched and waited. There wasn't much to worry about, but still I wanted to keep myself protected. That's when I activated Phase 2 of the Never Again Protocol. Called Daniel, explained the situation, and we spent a weekend restructuring everything. Created the postnup, framed it as liability protection, told Sophia I was worried about lawsuits from clients after a colleague got sued, wanted to shield our family assets. She signed every single page while watching some reality show. Do we really need all this? Standard asset protection. Protects us both if anything happens with my work. She signed without reading, called it my paranoid paperwork phase to her friends. That was in 2018. For the next 7 years, I kept everything documented. Sophia had access to use our money, but ownership remained separate. She never once asked why. Never questioned where money came from or where it went. Just kept using the debit card. Fast forward to our 10th anniversary this past spring. Made reservations at this place in River North where we'd had our third date. Same corner table. I'd bought Sophia the blue dress she was wearing specifically for this dinner. I thought maybe this would be a turning point. Maybe we'd reconnect. She'd been even more distant lately, but anniversary dinners are supposed to fix things, right? The restaurant looked the same. Our waiter recognized us, said something about it being romantic we'd come back. Sophia smiled but didn't engage. We ordered, made small talk about our daughter Lily's finals, about whether we should replace the deck surface stuff. Then the appetizers came. Sophia took one bite, set down her fork, then she looked at me. Marcus, I need to tell you something important. I paused. My first thought was maybe she's sick or Lily was in trouble. I'm going back to Ryan. My ex from college. I don't think we should continue this marriage. The table next to us went quiet. Our waiter, halfway over with our entrees, turned around. She said it like she was ordering off a menu. You're a good husband, Marcus. You really are. But I feel like I'm getting bored with our life. And honestly, Ryan has always been my true love. I should never have let him go. 10 years gone in 3 minutes. Then came the part that actually helped me. I never really loved you, Marcus. I just settled because Ryan wasn't available back then. You were safe, stable, but that's not enough anymore. The couple at the next table went quiet, and I just sat there processing that the person I'd built a life with was telling me none of it was real. Part of me wanted to yell, but I thought about Ethan at that card table. So I only said, then you should leave tonight. Her expression changed, confusion mixed with disappointment. She'd wanted me to fight, to promise I'd change, to give her the dramatic moment she could tell her friends about. What? You heard me. Pack your stuff tonight. I'll sleep in the guest room. I want you gone before I wake up tomorrow. You're not even going to fight for us. You just told me there was never an us, Sophia. So no. Go be with your true love. I stood up, dropped $180 in cash on the table, and walked out. She sat there staring, looking lost. I drove home in silence, went straight to the guest room, and started running through mental checklists, account access, door locks, security codes, everything Daniel and I had set up for exactly this. An hour later, I heard her come home. She spent 3 hours packing, made dramatic calls to friends about her new freedom. I stayed in the guest room making my own calls. Daniel first, then my lawyer Victor, then the bank. Around midnight, I heard her dragging suitcases down the stairs. Heard her pause in the hallway, maybe waiting for me to stop her. I didn't. Then I heard her voice, smug. I guess I'll finally get half of everything. Hope you saved up, Marcus. I listened to her wheel the suitcases outside. Heard Ryan's car pull up. Heard them drive away. Then I came out and called Daniel. It's done. She left. She actually said that at your anniversary dinner. Daniel couldn't help laughing. She really doesn't know how you structured things. Not a clue. 10 years and she never once asked. The post-nup we'd created was solid. We'd studied case law, looked at what worked and what failed. Structured it like a corporate merger, clean business language about asset protection and property classification. The key clause created separate property classifications. Anything earned after signature stayed separate unless explicitly combined in writing. My appraiser's salary flowed into a business entity that paid distributions to our household checking. What Sophia didn't know was that the business had 5 other accounts holding real assets. The house was refinanced in 2018 after the post-nup, deed in my name only. Bank accounts restructured in 2019, converted to individual with her as authorized user. Her BMW leased through my business. The joint checking had about $2,200. The next morning, my phone rang, voicemail from her sister Melissa. Marcus, Sophia deserves better. She deserves half of everything. Hope you're prepared to pay. Time to face consequences. I forwarded it to Victor without responding. An hour later, another voicemail. I'm officially representing Sophia. Any attempts to hide marital assets will have serious legal consequences. I texted back, you might want to review the post-nuptial agreement before making threats. 3 dots. Then, what postnuptial agreement? Sophia had never told her. The one your sister signed in 2018, filed with the county clerk. Public record. Any postnup signed under duress can be challenged. Good luck proving duress on something she signed while watching TV. She stopped responding, but I knew Melissa. She divorced her husband 3 years ago and taken his dental practice. Ever since, she'd been coaching Sophia on maximizing settlements. Melissa didn't back down. She escalated. By Wednesday afternoon, Sophia went to our bank. The branch manager, Thomas, brought them to his office with a thick file of documents Sophia had signed. Thomas was professional but thorough, opened the folder and started laying out documents one by one. Mrs. Ellis, in 2019 you and your husband came in to restructure your banking relationship. These are your signatures on the account conversion forms. He pointed to each one, Sophia's handwriting unmistakable. Sophia stared at them. I don't remember signing these. These are notarized signature cards from 2019. Our banker Lisa was present. She's still here, remembers the meeting. Her notes indicate you declined a detailed explanation and said you trusted your husband to handle financial matters. The notary witnessed and certified each signature. Melissa leaned forward. This is financial abuse. He manipulated her into signing away her rights. Thomas didn't react, just pulled out another document. Here's a customer satisfaction survey you filled out 3 months later, your handwriting. You wrote, I appreciate how my husband handles all our boring financial decisions. He's much better at money stuff than I am. You even drew a smiley face next to your signature. Sophia's face went pale. But I was his wife. These accounts should be ours. Thomas kept his voice level. The accounts were individually owned by Mr. Ellis. You were listed as an authorized user. That's a privilege, not ownership. The account holder can revoke that privilege at any time. What does that mean? It means you had permission to use the accounts. You never owned them. The moment Mr. Ellis revoked your authorized user status, your access ended. That's standard banking procedure. Melissa started gathering documents. We'll be filing complaints with every banking regulator in Illinois. Thomas offered her his business card. Feel free. I'll provide certified copies of everything for your complaint. We follow all state and federal regulations. Mrs. Ellis signed every document. We have notarized signature cards. We have her written acknowledgments. Everything here is completely legal. They left. Thomas called me an hour later. She genuinely didn't know. Marcus, 10 years and she never once asked what she was signing. She never wanted to know. That was the point. Still, watching someone realize they signed away their own leverage, that's rough. Not as rough as finding out your wife never loved you. At least I got documentation. Thomas went quiet. Fair point. And that's when Melissa really got to work. Thursday morning, I got served at my office. Process server handed me a manila envelope thick enough to be a phone book, emergency petition for exclusive possession of the marital residence, temporary support, and a temporary restraining order freezing all assets. Melissa had gone nuclear. The petition was 32 pages of accusations, called me a financial predator who'd systematically isolated Sophia from marital assets. Claimed I'd coerced her into signing documents she didn't understand. Alleged I'd retaliated by closing accounts and cutting off her access immediately after separation. Some of it was fiction. Some of it was uncomfortable truth framed badly. Victor called immediately. She's filing everything at once. Claims you're hiding assets, controlling behavior, financial abuse. She wants you out of the house by Friday and temporary spousal support of $4,200 a month while the case proceeds. Can she do that? She can file it. Whether a judge grants it is different, but she's smart about this. She's not alleging violence or anything criminal, just financial misconduct. That's harder to disprove immediately. Emergency hearing is tomorrow at 2. Tomorrow? How is that even legal? She claimed emergency circumstances, said you're liquidating assets and Sophia has no access to funds. Got an emergency slot. I spent Thursday night preparing, printed every document, every bank statement showing the post-nup execution, every piece of evidence showing Sophia had signed voluntarily. Daniel came over at 10 p.m. with coffee and energy drinks. We built a timeline. It looks reactive, Daniel said. That's the problem. It was reactive. She left. But Melissa is going to say, you cut her off to punish her for leaving. So what do we do? Show the pattern. Show that Sophia had access the entire time. show that you only secured accounts after she maxed out the credit card and threatened to get half of everything. We worked until 3 a.m. building the defense. Friday at 2, we stood in Judge Morrison's courtroom. Sophia sat at Melissa's table. She wouldn't make eye contact. Melissa started strong, painting me as controlling. She had declarations from Sophia's friends about how I handled everything. She spun the post-nup as evidence of control rather than protection. Your Honor, Mr. Ellis isolated my client from finances, made her sign 40 pages while watching television. No lawyer, no explanation, created a structure where she had no independent access. She pulled out bank statements. Then in 2019, he restructures all accounts again. My client signs without understanding. The bank manager testifies she was joking about paperwork. That's not informed consent. That's someone who trusts her husband and doesn't realize she's signing away her security. Melissa paced. And the moment my client exercises her right to leave, Mr. Ellis retaliates, closes accounts, changes locks, cuts off all access. She had to move in with family because she has no resources. This is textbook financial abuse. Victor countered the post-nup with notary banker notes from the 2019 account restructuring showing Sophia declined explanation, that customer survey praising my management, screenshots showing Sophia posted about Ryan hours before our anniversary. He pulled out the credit card statement. Mr. Ellis didn't retaliate. He protected himself after she maxed out their joint credit, $9,500 in 2 days, and threatened to get half of everything. The judge listened, flipping through exhibits. Mr. Hayes, your client did structure everything quite comprehensively. Why was Mrs. Ellis only given access to a household account? Because that's what the postnuptial specified, an agreement Mrs. Ellis signed after full disclosure. Full disclosure, Ms. Reed, did your client have independent counsel? Melissa jumped. No. She was told it was routine asset protection. She had no idea she was signing away marital rights. No independent lawyer advised her. Your Honor, Victor tried. Mrs. Ellis was given every opportunity to. The judge held up a hand. I've heard enough for today. This isn't a final determination hearing, but I'm troubled by several things. She looked at both lawyers. I'm not making final rulings today. But given the circumstances and the need to maintain status quo, I'm granting temporary exclusive possession to Mrs. Ellis for 30 days or until our next status hearing, whichever comes first. Mr. Ellis, you'll need to vacate by Sunday evening at 8 p.m. I felt my stomach drop. I'm also issuing a restraining order on dissipation of assets. Mr. Ellis, you're specifically restrained from closing or moving funds from any jointly titled accounts. Mrs. Ellis, same applies to you, no unusual expenditures, no asset transfers. The household checking account remains accessible to both parties for ordinary expenses only. Temporary support hearing is scheduled for 2 weeks from today. Both parties will exchange financial declarations before that hearing. The judge closed the file. And Ms. Reed, I'm granting this emergency relief because your client needs temporary stability. But if I find out you've overstated the circumstances or filed this in bad faith, there will be consequences. Understood? Yes, Your Honor. As we left the courtroom, Melissa smirked at me in the hallway. This is just the beginning, Marcus. Hope you've got a good hotel. Maybe next time you'll think twice before manipulating someone into signing their rights away. Victor grabbed my arm before I could respond. Not here. Let's go, in the elevator down. He said quietly. We took a hit, but it's temporary. We need to find their weakness before the next hearing. I spent the next month in a Hampton Inn near the office going through every document with Daniel and Victor. We needed to understand how Melissa had landed that first punch. The independent counsel issue is real, Victor said Tuesday morning in his conference room. Postnups without separate lawyers get scrutinized. Melissa knows that. But Sophia signed it. She had the chance to get a lawyer. Did you explicitly tell her to get one? I thought back to 2018. I'd explained it was asset protection paperwork, told her she should read it or have someone look at it, but I'd been there explaining it myself. I told her it was standard asset protection, that she should read it if she wanted, but I didn't insist. And I was there when she signed. That's what Melissa is hammering. You're an industrial equipment appraiser. She's a designer. That creates constructive fraud in some cases. Daniel was going through bank records when he stopped scrolling. Marcus, what account paid the mortgage every month? The household checking, autopay. Why? Show me the routing. I pulled it up. Every month since 2018, the mortgage came from account 4738, the joint household checking, both our names, funded by my business but technically joint property. Daniel and Victor exchanged a look. That's commingling, Victor said quietly. Classic commingling. What? Victor pulled up Illinois statute. When separate property is paid down using marital funds, the non-owning spouse acquires an equitable interest proportional to contribution. But it was my money funding that account. Doesn't matter legally. Once your distributions hit that joint account, they became marital property. You used jointly owned funds to pay separate property debt. That's textbook commingling. Melissa will argue Sophia has a claim to house equity. How bad? Let's math it out. Victor calculated, house worth $385,000 now. You've built about $110,000 in equity since 2018. If a judge finds commingling, Sophia could get 20 to 40%. That's $22,000 to $44,000. We kept digging. Found the joint savings account I'd forgotten about, $3,200 in it, became marital property. A stock purchase from 2019 that I'd made from the joint checking before transferring to my brokerage. Melissa argued it was marital property because of the source funds, but she also made mistakes. 3 weeks into discovery, Melissa filed a motion claiming I'd hidden a business account from the initial disclosures. Filed it as an emergency motion complete with accusations of fraud and perjury. The problem was the account she claimed I'd hidden. I disclosed it. Page 7 of my initial financial declaration, account number, balance, everything. Victor filed a response with a highlighted copy of my original disclosure. Then he requested sanctions. Hearing day. Melissa tried to backtrack, claimed it was an honest mistake, that she'd been reviewing hundreds of documents. The judge wasn't having it. You filed an emergency motion alleging fraud. You used words like perjury and concealment. Did you check the respondent's initial disclosures before making those accusations? Your Honor, I reviewed the documents available to me. That's not what I asked. Silence. I'm sanctioning you $750 for filing a frivolous motion. Additionally, you'll pay Mr. Ellis's attorney fees for responding to this motion. Mr. Hayes will submit a fee petition. Melissa's face went red. If I see another motion like this, the sanctions will be more severe. We're done here. Victor and I walked out. In the hallway, Melissa was on her phone with Sophia, voice tight with anger. Victor just smiled. She's going to be more careful now, but she's also rattled. The sanction order came through 2 days later. Melissa owed me $1,200 in fees plus the $750 fine to the court. Small victory, but I'll take it. But Melissa kept digging. She deposed Daniel, thinking she'd get him to admit I'd coerced Sophia. Instead, Daniel calmly explained he'd witnessed Sophia signing documents while laughing about my paranoia. Made Melissa look desperate. Then Melissa deposed me, 6 hours in Victor's conference room. Court reporter typing every word. She tried to make me look controlling. Isn't it true you never discussed financial matters with your wife? I discussed them whenever she wanted. She wasn't interested. You made all financial decisions unilaterally, within the structure we both agreed to. She tried to trip me up on commingling, asked why I'd use joint funds for the house if everything was supposed to be separate. It was an oversight. The mortgage auto-paid from that account. Should have changed it after the postnup, an oversight that lasted 7 years and benefited you at my client's expense. An oversight that gives your client a legitimate equity claim, which I'm willing to discuss in settlement. Meanwhile, Melissa's aggressive tactics were backfiring with the judge. She'd filed 3 emergency motions in 2 months, all denied. She'd accused me of hiding assets in discovery without evidence, got sanctioned with a $750 fine for frivolous claims. She tried to get the case expedited for urgent need. The judge said no, it proceeds on normal timeline. She told Sophia this would be a big settlement. She couldn't admit the case wasn't as strong as she'd thought. By month 4, Victor and I discussed settlement. The commingling was real. A judge would award Sophia something. Best case, Victor said, the judge awards reimbursement for mortgage and improvements, probably $45,000 plus her fees. Worst case, they find extensive commingling and award 20% of house equity. That's another $77,000 on top. Melissa is racking up bills Sophia will argue you should pay. Yeah. What about retirement, business accounts, investments? Those hold, no commingling evidence. Postnup is clear. We offered $58,000 for equity claims plus $13,000 toward her fees. She keeps her car and personal items. I keep everything else. Melissa rejected it. My client deserves far more. We're going to trial. But she wasn't. 2 weeks later, Melissa filed a motion to withdraw as counsel. The official reason was irreconcilable differences with client regarding case strategy. The real reason came out later. Sophia couldn't pay her anymore. Melissa had been working partially on contingency, expecting a big settlement. When the settlement offers stayed modest, Melissa wanted out. Sophia had to hire a new lawyer. Got a guy named Rick who took one look at the file and said, "We should probably settle." 3 months later, we did. Sophia got $68,000 for her equity claims and improvements. I paid $19,000 of her attorney fees. She kept her car, her personal belongings, and the $9,500 she'd maxed out on the joint credit card. I kept the house, the business, the retirement accounts, the investment accounts, everything else. Total cost to me, including attorney fees and temporary support paid during proceedings, just under $140,000. Not the clean win I'd planned, but not the disaster it could have been. The settlement finalized in September. By November, Sophia's money was gone. She'd paid Melissa's remaining bills, paid her new lawyer, put a deposit down on an apartment she couldn't afford long-term, bought furniture, paid off credit cards, helped Ryan with his rent before he ghosted her, treated her friends to dinners bragging about her settlement. By New Year's, she was broke again and working part-time at a real estate office doing open houses. Melissa's law practice never recovered. Word got around the family law community that she'd overpromised to a client, botched basic strategy, and got sanctioned by a judge. She lost 3 clients in the month after withdrawing from Sophia's case. Her ex-husband, the dentist she'd divorced and taken the practice from, filed for modification of support based on her decreased income. Karma's funny like that. I'd spent months documenting everything. When the settlement was final, I compiled it into a folder, 60 pages of screenshots, bank records, text messages between Sophia and Melissa discussing strategy. I didn't post it publicly. I shared it with exactly 4 people, Lily, my parents, and Sophia's father. Lily already knew most of it. She'd cut Sophia off completely. But seeing it all laid out hardened her resolve. She changed her last name to mine legally, stopped listing Sophia as her parent on any forms. My parents had suspected something was off, but seeing the evidence ended any guilt they felt about taking sides. They'd been planning to split holiday time between us. After seeing the folder, they told Sophia not to come to family events. Sophia's father was devastated. He called me. "Marcus, I'm sorry. I didn't know. She's not welcome at the house until she gets her life together. And Melissa should have known better. She encouraged this." That isolation broke Sophia faster than the money running out. She'd expected family support. Instead, everyone who saw the evidence realized she'd gambled on a bigger settlement and lost. She tried to rebuild her reputation, posted vague things on Facebook about healing from narcissistic abuse and finding yourself after manipulation, but her friends had seen too much. The comments on her posts got brutal. "Maybe focus on healing your relationship with your daughter. Funny how the abuse claims came right after you left for another man. Hope it was worth it." She deleted her social media. Last I heard, she's sharing an apartment with 2 roommates in Logan Square, working full-time at the real estate office now, no longer just doing open houses. She reached out to Lily for her birthday. Lily didn't respond. Melissa is trying to rebuild her practice. She's mostly doing uncontested divorces now, the kind where people file jointly and split things amicably. Not exactly the high-stakes litigation she built her reputation on. Ryan's still at Equinox, still dating clients, still posting inspirational quotes on Instagram. Last I saw, he had a new wellness coaching client who looks remarkably like Sophia did 7 years ago. Some people never learn. As for me, I sold the house last year, too many memories. And I'd gotten the equity value I deserved after accounting for Sophia's reimbursement. Bought a place in Lincoln Park. Lily graduates in May. She's already got a job lined up at a Big 4 accounting firm, says she wants to specialize in forensic accounting. Lily's graduation is in May. I'm flying her grandparents in from Minnesota. My parents are driving down. We're taking her to Alinea after the ceremony. She didn't invite her mother. Then this happened last Tuesday. Lily called me from an unknown number, said her phone died. She was borrowing a friend's, sounded off. "Dad, I need to tell you something. Mom's been showing up at my apartment." My hand tightened on the phone. "How many times?" "4 times this month. Just standing outside, just watching. Building management told me they can't do anything unless she tries to come inside or makes threats. You need to file for a restraining order." "I know. I already talked to Victor. He's drafting the petition now." She paused. "But Dad, there's something else. Last night, she left an envelope under my door. What was in it?" Lily's voice went flat. Copies of our old family photos from when I was little and a note that said, "Melissa says we have options. This isn't over." I sat there in my condo looking out at the city lights, phone pressed to my ear. Sophia was broke. Melissa was barely practicing. They had no case, no leverage, no legal path forward. The settlement was final. Everything was done. But that note wasn't about the divorce. That was about Lily's trust fund, the one her grandmother left her, the one that vests when she turns 25. And Sophia just hired Melissa again. Too bad for them. Lily's grandmother knew exactly who her daughter-in-law was. That trust has an independent trustee, airtight terms, and 0 parental access clauses. Daniel helped draft it 6 years ago. Some people never learn, and some of us never stop preparing. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.